They're missing out on a great opportunity. And so it's really not anything else much to add to that. But other than the fact that I'm really proud of our team, really proud of how these guys have handled themselves. Again, it's unfortunate that, three guys get the headlines, but, the headlines aren't about all the other good things that the other 112 guys are doing. But that's the way society is too. So just comes with the territory. But we'll be excited about getting our team meeting going this morning and moving on with our day. Looking forward to playing Oklahoma. What a great football team. We've talked and talked and talked. I'm really not sure what else y'all have to say since we spent an hour together yesterday, but I'll take your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Dabo, now that Kane is
talking to Andrea, but that's okay.
Sorry.
You're doing this. I'm just here. Okay.
Please don't forget to state your name and affiliation.
Okay. Will Vandervoort, Clemson Insider. Coach, since Kane has now been suspended, what's your plan at wide receiver? How's the two depth going to look on that?
Sharon Peake's our starting wide receiver, so nothing changes there. And TreVon Thompson is the backup. So both those guys would have played a lot anyways, but Sharon Peake is the starter. So there's really no change. All those guys are backups.
Andrea Adelson, ESPN.com. Dabo, how does this not become a distraction for the team?
Why would it be a distraction? It doesn't have anything to J.J. McCullough and Lacob and Dion don't have anything to do with Shaq Lawson and how he plays his game. It don't have anything to do with the rest of those guys. It's not a distraction at all. It's a distraction for me because I have to answer questions about three guys that break our rules, and I have to deal with it, but that comes with my job. Those guys, they're focused on doing what they do. It has nothing to do with them.
Dean Blevins, CBS, Oklahoma City. Dabo, your offensive line has come along throughout the season, and I know you're pleased with it. Where would you rate this offensive line coming into this Oklahoma game compared to the one last year?
Better. Not even close. Way better in every facet. Way more talented, more depth, way more flexibility, more commitment. I mean, just better group, better chemistry.
Todd Summers, 7 News, Spartanburg. Coach Swinney, do you find some comfort with losing a guy of the caliber of Dion Kane that over the course of this season you've had a lot of other wide receivers step up? 7 different guys have led this team in receiving yards over the course of 13 games. Does that help that you've had other guys that have, on the big stage, produced to make up for that loss?
It helps that we got a big roster and we have a lot of good players. Last time we were down here playing in the stadium, Dion Kane wasn't with us either. So, it just helps that we recruit well and we got a lot of good players.
On your left here, Coach.
Myron Patton, Fox 25 in Oklahoma City. Deshaun Watson obviously gets a lot of praise and talk about your offense, but Wayne Gallman is a 1,300-yard rusher. Could you kind of talk about him and just what impact you think he'll play on that?
Yeah, I think he's, I don't know, what is he, Tim? Is he around 1,400? What is it? 14. Yeah, he's 1,400 yards, and he's been a special guy for us. I mean, he's been a workhorse. Really, the combination of he and Deshaun have really given us a great rushing attack. Has made us very balanced and very difficult to defend, and sets up all the other things that come along with our offense. A lot of the big plays flow off of our running game, but Wayne is just one of those guys that really doesn't say a whole lot, but you notice him all the time. You hear him by how he practices, his attention to detail from a preparation standpoint, and then just how he plays on game day. I mean, he is a driven, I don't know, he had 160-something yards in the second half of our last game. I mean, he was just relentless, and that's how he is every single day. So really, really talented player. Young player.
Yeah, Dabo, Barry Tramel with the Oklahoman. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with TreVon Phillips and the faith he showed in you 7 years ago?
Well, I mean, my relationship with TreVon Phillips started as, just obviously as an assistant coach when I came to Clemson. and he gave me an opportunity to be an interim. And you know, one of the things that I always tell people is, you know, because if you know Terry Don, you know he's not a man of many words. He doesn't say a whole lot, and but the day that he made me the interim, and I went into his office, really expecting for him to just say, hey, do the best you can do and try to get the next guy to keep you or whatever. But his message to me was, hey, look, I've watched you for 5.5 years, and I think you're ready for this job. And he said, I'd love to see you get the job, you know, but you're going to have to win some games. And he told me that for the next 7 weeks, I want you to be the head coach. I don't want you to be the interim head coach. I want you to do whatever you think you need to do to fix this, was his words, and I'm going to support you. And at the end of this, you're going to get an interview. Regardless of whether you win one or win them all, you're going to get an interview for this job. And then he said, I'm going to hire the best guy for the job. He goes, but I want you to know, you know, I've watched you, and he said, you would be a great fit here. And so I go into the meeting with one mentality, and I come out of the meeting with this empowered attitude and confidence of, and just, you know, of let's go. And just kind of embrace the opportunity. So, I mean, I was really shocked by that, to be honest with you, because, again, he's just kind of an old school guy. And but so I tell people all the time, you know, just be great at whatever you're doing, because you never know who's paying attention. You never know. And then to always be ready for your opportunity. And I'm thankful that I was prepared and ready for that moment, and I had a bunch of good players that rallied around me. So forever grateful for Terry Don Phillips. I certainly wouldn't be here. A lot of people in my life that have helped shape me and provided opportunities for me to be where I am, and he's definitely one of them. I wouldn't be here without that opportunity.
On your left here, Coach. Coach, on your left.
Hey, Dabo, Gene Sapikoff from the Charleston Post and Courier. It was kind of a weird thing with Hugel. He was so good on the field goals this year, but struggled on the extra point. And now with, Lake watching from home, I guess, are you a little concerned about that tomorrow?
No, we'll just roll with Hugel.
On your right.
Yep.
Matt Connolly with the state newspaper in Columbia. Any update on the 3 suspended players as far as moving forward and what it means for their careers at Clemson? And then if you guys were to play in the championship game, do you know if they'll be available?
And none of those guys have all forfeited their opportunity to be with us for any postseason play. Am is a senior, so he's graduated already. And JJ is not a senior, but he'll have the opportunity to come back to school next week, and he's got a chance to graduate by the summer, and then he'll have opportunity to move on. If he wants to play somewhere else next year, he'll have that opportunity to do that, but he won't be back with us at Clemson. Dion will have opportunity to come back to school and rejoin the team at some point if he grows up and does what he needs to do. If he doesn't, then he won't. So it's really pretty simple.
On your right. In the back.
Coach Swinney, both quarterbacks are so good at escapability. James Hale from Sports Talk 1400, the ref in Norman. Talk about the goal of trying to contain Baker and his ability to keep him from just making plays on his feet outside of the pocket.
I'm open for any suggestions that you want to, share my way here. That's easier said than done. And same thing for them. Our guy, they're very similar in that regard, that they're both great creators with the ball in their hand. But Mayfield he's a tough guy. I mean, he's not a very big guy, but he is strong, especially with his lower body. Really difficult to tackle. You see a lot of people that you think have him, but they don't have him. And the biggest thing, somebody was asking me yesterday, what do you worry about the most with him? And it's, you just look at the clock, and it's 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. He just extends plays, and you can't cover guys forever. And then there's a lot of plays where the defense really had him. To be honest with you, whoever that opponent was, they had him on the board. It looked great. But that guy still has to tackle him. And, again, that's easier said than done. So he's a great football player. He's got great instincts for the game. He really understands all the nuances of their offense and what they do. But his ability to create really makes him special. So our ability to hopefully minimize that and make him, kind of play on schedule is going to be a key part of the game.
Your left here, Coach.
Dabo, it's Mark Bradley from Atlanta. You said that you felt confident the day you were named the interim coach, you were empowered. Was there ever a moment when you actually thought, though, what have I gotten into here? Am I ready for this? And just how much growth has it taken on your part to go from being the guy who was the interim coach to being the guy who's here today?
Well, yeah, there was a moment, and I've talked about that a lot, especially when I go and speak and give my testimony and things like that. It happened on a Monday, and I'm pretty sure I didn't sleep Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday was there was just a lot happening in a short amount of time, and I come to the office on Thursday morning. It was about 5:30 in the morning. I'd probably had about 2 hours of sleep. And just that Wednesday, one of the things that I had done is I had moved. Back then we were in a other building, and we were all on kind of this thoroughfare hallway, and everybody just kind of walks up and down the hallway. And I tried to stay in that office, but I realized after Tuesday that it just wasn't going to work. I couldn't get anything done, and so I'm going to move just what I needed down there left my stuff in there, but I didn't take what I need to take and just kind of set up in Coach Bowden's office, and where I could have a little bit of privacy to do some work. And so I moved in there like Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday night after practice. And so I come in on Thursday morning, and I don't know, I just was overwhelmed that particular morning. When I got up, I was exhausted, and it was dark, and I was driving to work, and I always pray when I go to work. And I just had a moment of just, man, like anybody, just, this what have I don't know if I can do this. I mean, I was just worn out and emotional and all those things, but I'll never forget it, because and it's just how I live my life, and it's how it just speaks to what I believe in. But I pulled in the parking lot, and I'd never parked over in Tommy's spot. Obviously, I always parked down on the left and would walk into the office. But so I pulled around because I had a key right there to that door, and when I pull into the parking lot, and my lights hit the curb. And the curb lit up, and I had just prayed all the way to work that morning driving for just wisdom and confidence and clarity, and my lights hit the curb, and the number 88 lit up on the curb in that particular parking spot, and that was really the last moment for me, and because it was just kind of, to me, that was my college number, and it was just like God was just kind of tapping me on the back, putting his arms around me and saying, hey, listen, I got you. You're right where I want you to be, and don't doubt that. Let's just keep moving forward. And so I called my wife when I got in that morning to let her know that, and I really didn't have any doubt. I just got my mind back on what he called me to do and went back to work. So outside of that moment, that's really it.
It was a really good story. Good morning. Marty Smith, ESPN. Hi, Coach. You noted when you sat down how disappointed you were for those three young men who are going home to forfeit this opportunity. But I wonder how disappointed you are in them that they created this for your team. Oh,
well, I mean, again, it doesn't affect our team. Y'all may think it does, but it doesn't affect our team. We had a great practice yesterday. This is just what I do. I mean, that's just part of my job. I mean, when you have 115 guys, you're going to have young people, you're going to have some discipline from time to time. It's just part of it. But at the end of the day, there's consequences for your actions, and we always reinforce that and instill that in our program, and always will. It doesn't matter who they are or how big the game is. If you don't do what's right, you ain't playing. So those three guys didn't do what's right, so they're not playing. It's really not any more complicated than that. It really isn't. When my kids don't do what's right, there's consequences. So I just love them all the same. I love those guys. They're not bad guys. Those aren't bad kids. They didn't go out and rob a bank or anything like that. They're not bad guys. But they forfeited their opportunity. It's a privilege. It's a privilege, and we have rules. I don't make all the rules, but I'm going to enforce them. And when you break them, then you put me in a situation where we're going to do what's right. That I know. Oftentimes it's easier to do the wrong thing, but it's always best to do what's right. And that's what we're going to always do in this program, regardless of what people think or want to write or create. That's just the way it is.
Over here on your left, Coach. Coach, up here on your left.
Okay.
Larry Williams, TigerIllustrated.com. Dabo, can you enlighten us as to whether this is a team issue, an NCAA administered issue where Dion might face further suspension in 2016?
No, it's just team rules. Violation of team rules.
On your right here, up front.
Hi, Dabo.
Hey.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. Baker Mayfield, as you know, transferred from Texas Tech to Oklahoma, had to sit out a year and lost a year of eligibility. Do you think players ought to be able to transfer one time from another school to another school and not have to sit out and be able to play immediately?
I think if you graduate, you can do what you want to do. If you don't graduate, no. I think that that the rules that we have, are good as far as just, that's from that standpoint. But I do think if guys graduate and want to transfer, I think that's the objective is to graduate, and or at least it should be. So that I don't have a problem with.
Dabo, Dean Blevins, CBS Oklahoma City. We've heard a lot this week about the quarterback's ability to run, but Deshaun as a thrower, can you discuss that? And is the long ball his long suit?
Yeah, well, he can make all the throws. He's very accurate, whether he's throwing a slant route, which is a tight window on the move, a timing play, or he's throwing an over-the-top, type of a ball downfield, or a back shoulder, stop them in their tracks type of a throw. He's very accurate and very gifted in making all the throws. So, but he does throw, a beautiful deep ball. There's no doubt about it. He's not all guys can do that, but he has the ability to really assess the situation. As far as the technique of the defender and where he is he underneath, over the top, how the receiver is executing his stem and release, and he can put the ball where it needs to be. He's special. He's a special, thrower.
On your left here.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Bill Rhodes with the New York Times. Two quick questions. The first is there's been a lot of talk about who gets to be a head coach in big-time college football, and I wonder what your suggestions could be. You came in without a lot of pedigree that you made on your. What would be your suggestion to maybe a player on your team who's clearly not going to be an NFL player, but who wants to be you at some point, doesn't necessarily have a lot of connections? What would be your suggestion?
Well, just, go to work, and you got to start somewhere, and then what I said earlier, whatever it is that you do, just be great at it. And that's kind of what I tell young coaches all the time. People say I don't have a pedigree, but I spent 13 years at Alabama. I coached there for 8 years, and had a bunch of good players, recruited a bunch of good players there, and played there 5 years. Played on a national championship team, walked on, earned a scholarship. Nobody's going to. For me, nobody gives you anything. That's kind of what I try to teach: is you're not entitled to anything. If you want something, go get it. but your actions have to align with what you want. There's no shortcut. You just gotta go to work, and then you gotta be good at whatever it is that you're doing. If you're the last GA on the ladder there, man, be the best last GA in college football. You just bloom where you're planted, and not everybody is going to be the head coach at Clemson, but that really shouldn't matter. It's just about being your best at whatever it is that you're doing, and how you treat people and how you live your life. I mean, those are the things to me that should matter more than. I mean, I hope to be a head coach one day, but I'd probably still be at Alabama. To be honest with you, I loved my job there. They finally said you got to go. And so I left, and I got out of coaching for two very short seasons, and got into the business world and enjoyed that. But I knew that coaching was what I was called to do, and Clemson gave me an opportunity to get back into coaching, and so I was excited about that. And I was an assistant for 5.5 years at Clemson, and loved my job there. Loved my players, just was focused on being the best that I could possibly be. And, I was 38 years old when I got put into this situation. And same thing, I wasn't focused on this. I was just trying to be the best coach that I could be. And it's like, kind of speaks to what I said earlier. You don't ever know who's paying attention. And it's the networking, it's the relationships along the way. Again, doing things the right way. Ultimately those things will mount up. I mean, the decisions, life's about decisions that you make. Always has been, always will be. And especially those decisions when you make when you're younger. Especially this critical time that we have with our players, because it affects you down the road. That's what we try to teach with our guys. But for me, I got the job when I was 38, and I was still a very young coach. I'm 46 now. I'm still a young coach, but I've had a lot of experience now at being a head coach. It's not something that you go to a seminar and get. I mean, you can train and prepare, and I feel like I did a good job of that from the day I got into coaching and preparing for an opportunity to one day be a head coach. But until you do it, it's the real thing is a lot different than the simulator. So certainly have grown in that aspect a lot over the last 7+ years.
Straight back.
The other thing is you got to get your education. If you don't get your degree, you can't do what I do. It's just you got to be qualified, and football is such a small part. So many guys focus on the ball while you're in the moment of college, which is something else that we try to teach. We all know that. We know how small 4 or 5 years is. It's such a small window of our lives, brief moment, and I try to teach these guys to exhaust the moment. Like, just get every ounce of everything that you can get out of this moment, small moment in your life. Football is going to end. Some of these guys will play a little bit longer, but not long. And, but the networking, the relationships, establishing your core values on what you're going to live your life on, those are the things that are going to matter. So that's what I would say.
Dabo, you said you're going to roll with Hugel. You've obviously been rolling with him all season long. How has your comfort level grown with him since he was put in this situation to start the season?
Are you kidding? He made All-American. So he wasn't even on the roster. And it's funny, we showed I don't know who did it, but we do a little video of the day about every day. And one of the video of the days was a video game, like they had taken a video game and Clemson, Oklahoma had played. And it was hilarious. The guys watching themselves, but the guy that made the field goal was Lacob. So, I've been kidding Hugel. I said, well, you got to be on the roster in the summer to get on the video game. So he wasn't even on the video game, but he made All-American. So my comfort level's pretty good.
Hey, Dabo, David Hale with ESPN.com. TreVon's a guy who has not necessarily had the hugest role throughout the year. I know he made that big catch against South Carolina. as his role potentially gets bigger here in the playoff, what have you seen from him throughout the course of the year that gives you confidence he's ready to take on that role?
Great player. Got every attribute that's why we recruited him. He's incredibly talented, gifted receiver, just another one of those guys that we have. And he's just a freshman. He's had some big moments for us, but he's been one of those guys that has improved, each and every week, to be honest with you. He's just been a steady guy. Redshirted last year, wasn't quite ready to make the transition, but boy, he's had an excellent fall for us and is going to have a bright future. Very capable of making any play that we need. That's why he was in there on 3rd and 8, probably the biggest play, one of the biggest plays of the season there at the end in that South Carolina game, and got all the confidence in the world in him.
Dabo, Jeff Fischel from the ACC Digital Network. I'm curious, as Dion emerged as a deep threat for Deshaun, what was Deshaun's reaction to learning that Dion wouldn't be available to him? And I guess how does that fit into the way Deshaun reacts to any and all situations?
No reaction. We just went to practice. Just more balls for Sharon. We just rotate those guys, but it just means Sharon's going to play more snaps. And that's our starter, so we'll be okay.
Dabo, Bonnie Bernstein, Campus Insiders, just following up on what Jeff asked. If you were to foresee a guy among your receiver core who could really make a difference in Dion's absence as a deep threat, who do you hope that will be?
Sharon Peake. Same guys.
Not named Sharon.
Well, that's not possible because they play the same position. Sharon's the starter and Dion's the backup, and they play the same spot. So it's really, we just have rotated those guys. Dion's been the backup, and a lot of his opportunities just because he's been in the game where we rotate the guys. So this just means that Sharon will play more snaps, and he's certainly capable to do that. And then TreVon will back him up. But Artavis has made plenty of plays down the field. Hopper's made plays down the field. Renfro's made plays down the field. I don't think we have anybody. Leggett's made plays down the field. We don't have anybody on our roster that we've been playing that haven't made plays. TreVon's made plays.
Matt Connolly with the State newspaper. McKenzie's had some success going up against some really good receivers this year. Just what are your thoughts on that matchup and him going up against Sterling Shepard?
Tough matchup. He's got his hands full. Great player. Got a chance to study him a lot last year and really thought he was a gifted receiver last year going into that game. Shifty, strong guy, excellent ball skills, great ability to run after the catch. He's a very talented guy. I think he's top 10 in the country right now in touchdowns. So he's got his hands full. Going to be a battle right there. That's what you expect. I mean, it's Final Four. There's no weaknesses on either one of these teams. These are whatever 11 run out there on the field. They're all good players, and on both sides. So it'll be great matchups everywhere.
Dabo, Robbie Tinsley with the Journal. Can you quantify how much healthier this team is than when they played 4 weeks ago against UNC?
I don't know that I can quantify it, but I think we're really healthy. We're in great shape physically. We're going to be a fast football team. I like where we are as far as our injury report and all that type of stuff, but I can't really quantify it. I know we played 10 straight games, and that just kind of you just go. You don't really worry about it. You just go get ready for the next game and do the best you can. But certainly has been great having some time off. These guys getting their legs, and I think we've practiced really smart. The guys feel good about the plan, and now we just got to go execute it.
Dabo, Brian Brinkley, KFOR TV, NBC in Oklahoma City. What sticks out to you about Oklahoma's defense this year compared to last year?
Well, they just, again, I thought they were really tough against the run last year, and it's really not much different. 9 of the 11 are back. I just think that they've executed very cleanly. They messed around a little bit with a 4-man front early part of the year, and they kind of scrapped that and went back to their Okie front, which is kind of what they're built for. But they're better on the back end. than I thought they were last year. Just, again, more experience, more confidence in what they're doing. And, they've done a heck of a job. They're really difficult to run the ball on. They always outnumber you in the box. So you got to be creative in how you run the ball, and you have to stay patient. They're not much different. I thought they were really good last year defensively as well.
All the way in the back.
Kevin Ward, Sports Animal Radio in Tulsa. Coach, have you had to use any Jedi mind tricks with your team given what you did to Oklahoma last year?
Jedi mind tricks. Is that Star Wars? Okay. No Jedi mind tricks. Maybe you got one for me? I'm open to all suggestions. No, I mean, last year's game just has nothing to do with this game. I mean, it really doesn't. We have great respect for Oklahoma. We talk about that all the time as far as last week's tackles and touchdowns and all that stuff. Sacks don't win this week. And certainly last year's performance isn't going to win this year. Different teams. Every game is a game and a season of its own. It really is. They turned the ball over 5 times against us, and we're a good team. That's not going to be a pretty result. If we turn the ball over 5 times, it's not going to be a pretty result. So that's just the way that game was that day. Really not indicative of the talent. The talent is very similar, and that's why they've come back and had a great year this year, and they're in the Final Four. So our guys, the one thing, young guys and these football players, these guys are smart. This is what they do. They understand ball, and when you put the film on, they know who can play, and they know who's not quite as good a player pretty quickly. And all you got to do is put the film on, and Oklahoma will get your attention in every area. They really don't have a weakness. They're really good all over the field. Punter does it all for them. Kicks, punts, does everything. So good solid team, and it shows on film.
Far right over.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American. There's been a lot of consternation over the targeting rule this year and maybe last year as well. Are you in favor of it as it is now, or do you think it needs to be tweaked in any way?
No, I think it needs to be tweaked. And, I'm actually on one of them committees where I get a chance to kind of talk about some of those things. But I do think it needs to be tweaked. I think that it has worked in that it's cut down and it's cleaned up a lot of what they were trying to get rid of. I don't think there's any question about that. I think it's had a great effect on the game, and again, making the game safer and eliminating those type of plays. But I think from time to time, I think there should be a little bit more opportunity in the review process. That's where I think that needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Down the middle? No? Okay. Right over here on your left. Go ahead.
Myron Padding at Fox 25 for here, Coach. Now that the week is kind of winding down, did you do anything different handling this bowl game, seeing how it's a playoff, and you hope you have another game next week? Did you do anything different compared to your other bowl games in the past?
No, we prepared the same. I mean, we're not guaranteed another game, so we better put everything we got into this game. That's what got all these people coming up to me. Hey, man, I've already booked my tickets to Arizona. I'm like, well, you better get them to Miami. We got to win this game, and so we don't. That's all our focus has been. If we're fortunate enough to win the game and have a chance to play again, well, we got plenty of time to get ready for that. Well, we got 10 days or whatever. Most weeks you got about 3.5 days to really get your plan in. So, if we're fortunate enough to win it, coaches will be back in the office on Sunday, players will be in on Monday, and we'll be rolling. We'll have about 2 or 3 extra days of actual prep time than we would normally have in a game week. So we'll worry about that then. Our focus has really been 100% on trying to win this game, and we've prepared exactly the same as we have in our past bowls as far as how we get our team ready, the combination of good on good Clemson work, game prep versus the opponent, and then really spending time with our young players and trying to develop them for spring practice. And then I think we've had a really tight itinerary down here. It's been we didn't get here till the night of the 26th. We had practice in Clemson that morning, which was really good. And when we've not been meeting or practicing, and we've had something that we need to be plugged into, we've been engaged in that. And I think it's important. The Orange Bowl folks do an unbelievable job, and they work really, really hard to create a great event. And I think it's important that we participate. We had the FCA breakfast yesterday morning. I think they had Dave and Buster's last night. So we've done the things that have been on our itinerary, but today is about getting locked in. And, these guys have kind of had their normal process as far as how we prepare. We just keep them dialed in on, okay, hey, today's a team Thursday. Today's Focus Friday. And so they can mentally kind of stay in the same routine.
Dean Blevins, News 9. Coach, you have great fans. You're closer than Oklahoma. You'll have a crowd advantage. Have you guys talked about that, and what do you expect?
No, we haven't talked about that, but I expect we'll have a great crowd. I'd be shocked if we don't. Wherever we go, we have a great crowd, so our guys know that. But no, we hadn't spent any time talking about the crowd. I mean, that doesn't really matter. I mean, we spend all of our time on talking about how we play, and that's it.
All right, last question over here.
All right. Good morning again.
Morning.
You told a great story. I hadn't really intended to ask this question. You told a great story about how you were led to know this was your moment by faith. And I'm just curious. Arian Foster kind of created a little bit of a stir last year when he said he was an atheist. If in your recruiting of an athlete, of a kid, and he came to you at one point and said, I respect you, but I don't believe in God, would he still have a spot in your program? That, yeah, I'm not saying he ran a 4.34, but I mean just in general.
Absolutely. My job is to win football games, and we're going to always recruit and play the best football players. That's an easy question. We don't play the best Christians. I've said that many times. If we were playing the best Christians, I wouldn't be sitting here. I can guarantee you that. But as a Christian, I love everybody. I really do. I don't judge other people. I think it's important that everybody they can be who they want to be. I just know how I'm called to live my life, and I try to be consistent with that. Be who you are, whoever you are, whatever you are. Be who you are. I've coached a bunch of atheists, I'm sure, along the way, a ton. So. No, it wouldn't have anything to do with it.